My name is John Faust. I am the outgoing chair. Thank you. Except for the front row right here. There's a restraining order against you, Dylan. Why are you here? What part of stay 500 yards away don't you understand? I am the outgoing chair of the NAPC. Put your hands together for Craig Frost from Pineapple Beach, our new chair. Where are you, Craig? Right there in the middle in the back. Lake Worth is in good hands with him. And also, my neighborhood, downtown Jewel, I have Dave Wilson here. He's our new chair. All right, we do have Vice Mayor and other commissioners in the audience. I know I saw Scott Maxwell and Andy Amoroso. Obviously, we have the other two commissioners right here on stage. Didn't see Mayor yet. If she comes in, I want to acknowledge her. Special thanks, the Playhouse, for us to be here. Let me tell you, the Camelot set is not for this event. It's actually for Camelot. They're here on the stage tomorrow night again. Get tickets. There's a couple left. Also tomorrow night, the Lake Worth movie at the City Hall. Thank yous. Our committee for this event. Ryan Marshall, Craig, Anna Maria, Greg Rice. Greg Rice is in Orlando right now watching this live. But if the rest of you could stand up and take a quick applause, because the moving parts behind this are actually, thank you. Jaeger Technologies Services, they're streaming this. If you have a Facebook on your phone, I'm sorry, if you have the Facebook on your phone, Jaeger Technology Services, tell your friends and neighbors that can't be here, they can watch it live. And of course, Wes Blackman, he'll push it on YouTube tomorrow night, or tomorrow morning, if not tonight. Volunteers, ushers, timekeepers, hardest working people right here in the front row. Presidents, we have a ton of neighborhood presidents here, future, present, and past. Mary Lindsay, you're in here somewhere, where are you? There you are. Hi, Mary. She had the 5-year stint before my 5-year stint, so Craig, you're doing 10 years, by the way. Who else? Let's go. Events coming up. Great Taste, February 22nd. Tickets on sale in the lobby. This is always a great event. We have over 30 merchants and restaurants signed up for this. This is a blast. It's the Friday night before Street Painting Festival. Fluffing, I'll take this privilege that my neighborhood fundraiser is in March 23rd. You can get fluffing tickets, the Florida Putt-Putt Golf Home and Garden Tour. Let's see. That's it. Get out and vote. Now let's change gears to our moderator. So, local attorney. He specializes in business law and real estate law. He's done this with the absolute least negative feedback for a couple years now. Before John, it was hit or miss. I'm not saying it was all miss, but it was hit or miss. And we're so happy to have John Paxman back this year. CRA Commission, big fan of the Street Paint Festival. Please put your hands together again for John T. Paxman. It's all yours.
Well, you can tell it's Lake Worth because it's the least negative comments and feedback on my job here. So tonight, we have great candidates who are going to come here and discuss the topics that affect the city. There's a bunch of questions. I've never read one of them. They're sitting right here in front of me. Someone handed them to me and goes, go read these questions. First thing we're going to do tonight is I'm going to talk to the timekeepers. They serve an important part here. And we're going to talk a little bit about the format. And then each of the candidates will have opening statements of 2 minutes. Timekeepers. I know we discussed with most of you earlier. We have our questions that are 2 minutes, 1 minute, and 30 seconds today. So when I read the question, I'll say before I even read it that it's going to be a 30-second question so you can get your timepieces set. After I ask the question, start your timer for the candidate who is speaking. And when it comes to be done, put up the stop. Keep it up, please, so I can see it, especially here in the middle. There, if you keep it too low, I can't see the time in the timekeepers. There's a speaker in front of us or a monitor in front of us. That being said, each candidate will be entitled to two-minute rebuttals during the time that is allotted to this debate, which is approximately 2 hours. With that being said, I'm going to try to be as kind of random and make sure everyone goes first and everyone gets a chance to go last, as I try always to do. And candidates, if you do have your rebuttal, hold it up for me, and then after the person you want to rebut stops, hold it back up so I can see it. It's a little hard. You're all down a straight line from me, so just do what you can do with that. I appreciate it, and I will make sure I call on you. If I miss you out of rotation, or if I don't call on your rebuttal, or if I mispronounce your name, please stop me, correct me, remind me. I'm happy to have the reminder just so everything goes as well as possible. The last few years that I've done this have been just so easy because all the candidates have just basically come out here in good faith, attacked the questions, answered the questions, and been great sports persons about things. And I hope we can all do that again today. That being said, we'll start with Commissioner Omari Hardy with his opening statement, and we'll go right straight on down the line. Timekeeper, 2 minutes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Commissioner Omari Hardy, and I have had the pleasure of representing District 2 on the Lake Worth City Commission for the past 2 years. Before we really get into it, I want to thank everyone for showing up here this evening. As a civics teacher, I try to teach my students to do exactly what it is that you're doing. I try to teach them that by showing up, by getting involved, by observing what's happening in their community, and also by letting their voice be heard, that they can make their community a better place. And so I hope that one day, all 110 of my students are going to be doing exactly what it is that you're doing. So I would give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you. I'm standing here today running for my reelection because I did exactly what it is that I said I would do 2 years ago when I ran. When I ran 2 years ago, I said that I would focus on crime. I said when I ran last time that I would focus on the critical infrastructure, our roads. I said last time that I would focus on bringing sensible investment to the city. And so if you fast forward 2 years to today, what have we seen? We've seen our crime rate drop 17% last year and 27% so far in 2018. That's a very positive thing, and we've done it because of the work that myself and my other commissioners have done. With the road bond, we've seen that project proceed. We've seen it proceed ahead of schedule. We've seen it proceed and come in under budget so far. We've also seen sensible investments come in all over the city. This commission has improved projects that we haven't really seen before. We approved Lake Cove, which is 57 single-family homes. Those folks are going to be paying taxes. Those folks are going to be spending money. And hopefully some of those folks next year or 2 years from now are going to be sitting in your seats participating. We've approved the mid, 230 luxury apartment units. We've approved small things like the bed and breakfast on O Street. We've approved a luxury condominium building a stone's throw away from this building. I did what it is that I said I would do, and I'm running to ask for your vote because I would like to build on the successes that we've had in such a short period of time. Thank you.
Thank you. I was a bit remiss before. We have 2 different districts that have campaigns. We have Omari Hardy and Kathy Turk in District 2, and then we have Herman Robinson, William Joseph, who currently is not in attendance, Tom Copeland, and Richard Garrico in District 4. So we have the 2 closest in one group, in one grouping, and the 4 furthest away from me in the other grouping. And Kathy Turk, you have your 2 minutes, please.
Hi, I'm Kathy Turk. I want to thank the NAPC and the Playhouse for hosting us and for all of you for being here. I am a mom, a business owner, a homeowner, and a volunteer. My daughter is a student at the University of Kentucky, and my son is a student at Emory University's Business School. I started my own business in Boca Raton in 2001. We do supplemental staffing, project management, process improvement, and HR consulting. About 5 years ago, or 5 years into CDT, and a lot of hard work and long hours, I had built 2 offices and had 56 full-time benefited employees working for me around the country, as well as contractors. Today, I'm semi-retired and I work part-time from my home office. I purchased my home in Lake Worth 3 years ago. In my search for my forever home, I looked in Georgia, I looked in the Carolinas, I looked on both sides of Florida. For me, it came down to a few things. 1, I wanted to stay in Palm Beach County. 2, I needed to be near a beach. 3, I needed 3 bedrooms because kids do come home. And I had a Labradoodle and a Golden Retriever that were coming with me. Shortly after moving into my home in Tropical Ridge, I discovered that Wawa wanted to place a 16-pump mega gas station 18 inches from my living room window. I quickly got in touch with my neighborhood. I got to know people like Stephanie and Rocky and my commissioners, and for the very first time I attended a commission meeting and I spoke my 2 minutes at each one. Since winning the Wawa fight, I have served on the Lake Worth Planning and Zoning Board. I was the president of the Lake Worth Art League. I am a board member for the Friends of Lake Worth Parks and Rec. I have working with our schools to fill their food pantries, and I'm a steward of a Little Free Library. I have worked for years with negotiating contracts and helping clients achieve their strategic goals. It's time I bring my business skills, my personal experience, my values, and my temperament to our dais. I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you. And now for the candidates from District 4, Herman Robinson.
I'll repeat thank you to the NAPC, the Lake Worth Playhouse, and to all the people participating in our democratic process in our great city. It was love at first visit in 1998 that I wanted to make Lake Worth our home. Before the honor of serving as District 4 Commissioner, I immediately became involved in our community. I founded the Bryant Park Neighborhood Association, served as president for 4 years. I was instrumental in founding the NAPC. I invested in historic building downtown and had a business there. I became part of our great city's volunteer spirit by serving on planning and zoning and as chair of the Historic Preservation Committee. When I was president of Kiwanis, we created and helped fund a new soccer field in Sunset Ridge neighborhood. Since becoming your commissioner, we have developed and maintained disciplined growth, which encourages young families to come to Lake Worth. We have managed your road bond to come in ahead of schedule and under budget. We have invested in license plate readers, security cameras, and to facilitate reduction of crime. Last year, the crime went down 27%. We have made a positive change in our comprehensive plan and historic guidelines to make permitting less onerous to property owners. We have invested in electric cars, new communication and GIS technology, and at my suggestion, increased the income of our oceanfront casino park by $800,000 per year. In short, we are doing every great things together, and I want very much to continue my service to everyone in Lake Worth. Please vote for me, Commissioner Herman Robinson, for the love of Lake Worth. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from District 4 candidate Tom Copeland.
All right. Good evening, Lake Worth. My name is Tom Copeland. I'm running for City Commissioner for District 4, and I'm so humbled to be up here tonight asking for your votes. Thank you to the NAPC, thank you to the Playhouse, of course, and thank you to our volunteers. And thank you to you for coming out, because you're the reason why we're up here tonight. I also need to thank my wife. She's Tracy. She's out there somewhere, because without you, I wouldn't be up here as well. I'm going to use my time to talk about myself, which is really uncomfortable for me, so bear with me. I was born and raised in Palm Beach County. I'm a native son. I left only to graduate from the University of Florida with a degree in business and marketing. Go Gators. My love for Lake Worth started in 2009. My wife is going to kill me for this, but we met at Brogues in 2009. We've had more romantic things happen since then. But we bought our home together in South Palm Park, and we've been invested in our community and in our city ever since. Today I work as the marketing director for a major regional law firm. I run a team of marketing professionals. My wife and I started a real estate company in Lake Worth. I'm proud to say it's one of the few women-owned independent real estate brokerages in West Palm Beach. It's a mouthful, but it's an amazing thing. We started that in 2015.
On to my civic and volunteer service. I have sat on various nonprofit boards and participated in civic volunteer service as well. I sat on the Sustainability Advisory Committee for the city of West Palm Beach for 2 years. That was an incredible experience. I also sat on the Finance Advisory Board for the city of Lake Worth for almost 3 years, most recently serving as chair before running for office. I started a nonprofit with a friend in 2016. It was really just an idea that we kicked around a table, and I'm proud to say here in 2019, we are going in with $170,000 in funding. Thanks. The reason I say that, though, is not for accolades. The reason I say it is because we worked hard at it, we had an objective, and we achieved it, and that's what I'm looking to bring to the city of Lake Worth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now District 4 candidate Richard Guercio.
Thank you, John. First, I want to thank Michelle, because I wouldn't be here without her. Love you, babe. I want to thank all of you for being here, NAPC, John Paxman for moderating. I came here in 1995. I lived over the bridge. You might all remember an art gallery out here on Lake Avenue in the 800 block called Studio E Gallery. I bought a bunch of art there, and they'd asked me to run the gallery for them part-time. So I did that for about 2 years while we were rebuilding Dixie Highway and our side streets here with FDOT. Michelle's family, you might remember Club 502 that was on the corner of Lake and M and Lucerne. And that was owned by her sister's husband, Rich Conti, and his brother, Gene. And that's where we met in 1996. And we moved here permanently about 10 years ago. I have a Wall Street background. First registered in 1976, retired my licenses in 2012. And the last thing I did there was, as an investment banker, was Microsoft-centric technologies and energy. Those are the two things I did. I bring that here as the chair of the Finance Advisory Board and the Bond Oversight Committee, and use those skills to go forward and try and drive the board to do good things for Lake Worth. It's the volunteerism part of that that gets me, and all the things that we have going here in Lake Worth, the electric utility, the water plant, and everything else. Why I'm standing here is I find the City Commission in a moment of dysfunction. I find a lot of sniping. I find a lot of personal agendas. I find a lot of not necessary, not Lake Worth-centric things going on in the dais, talking about national items that we have no control over. We can't ban gun bump stocks if we're sitting there on the dais. We can vote all day long, that's not going to happen. We can't get ID cards for people, things like that. We have ridiculous ordinances that come up. We are a boating community. You can't have a boat in your driveway. I find that to be pretty outrageous considering where we are. Things like that. So I want to bring some common sense, bring my skill set and the dedication that I have to diving into this. If you know me, you've seen this notebook, right? I bring this everywhere I go. It's all for the city, and that's what I'm here for. I think I'm the best qualified person here for this job.
All right, Richard Guercio, we're going to have you start out on our first question, then we're going to come right back down the line to me. And our first question is a 2-minute question, timekeepers and candidates. And it is, what neighborhood association do you live in, and are you a member? What can the city or specific departments do either directly or indirectly to help our neighborhoods? Thank you.
Thanks, John. Michelle and I are members of 2 neighborhood associations. We are in South Palm Park. We moved there 3.5 years ago, and we've rarely missed a meeting. Last meeting we missed, we were on a plane landing in PBI in October. We are also members of Parrot Cove, which is our former neighborhood. We're very active in both of them, more active in our current neighborhood. The city's done a wonderful thing for us in South Palm Park. They've taken care of the park for us. They've done some median work. We've had great relationships with staff. PBSO has been great about trying to keep the crime out of our neighborhood. You know, where we are is as Lake Worth narrows in the south end. So Federal Highway is literally just a half a block away from a lot of what goes on in our neighborhood. And a lot of what goes on down there spills into our neighborhood. We find needles, we find condoms, things like that. And PBSO has been great about cleaning that up. So I think the city's doing as well as they can to support the neighborhood associations, in my experience. That's about all I can say about that.
Okay, all set. John, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say, if anyone needs a question repeated, please feel free to ask. They're kind of long, some of them. So for Tom Copeland, what neighborhood association do you live in, and are you a member? What can the city or specific department do either directly or indirectly to help our neighborhoods?
Great. Okay, thanks for the question, John. So I live in South Palm Park. My wife and I bought our home in South Palm Park in 2014. We are very much invested in our neighborhood association. In fact, the month that we moved in, which also happened to be the same month as the 4th of July, which was a lot of fun, but the same month we went straight to the neighborhood association meeting and got in touch with everybody. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. So what can the city do? I would say that especially in our neighborhood association on the south end of South Palm Park, we actually haven't had a candidate for commission or commissioner in that area, south end of the neighborhood, for many years. I've been told something like 25 years. So what I'm excited about is taking my time on the dais and bringing it back. I think that a commissioner has two jobs. One job is to make the big city decisions, the big decisions for the city, but also paying attention to their neighborhood and bringing back some wins. So one of the things that I like to look at is using infrastructure, focusing on aggressive code enforcement, working with PBSO and working with our code enforcement. We had a grant last year that was a wonderful thing that allowed PBSO and code enforcement to work together, and it actually resulted in the arrest of a convicted felon, wanted felon. So that was a wonderful thing. I'd like to see that relationship strengthened. I also would like to see in all neighborhoods, not just my neighborhood association, but investments in lighting and beautification. And we could do this by identifying more grants and more appropriations and getting outside of our city to see if we can find ways to do that. So that's what I'd say. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you. Candidates, you can feel free to sit and or perch on the stools behind you if you feel like it during the debate. So let's see.
I have the question.
You have the question? Okay, Herman Robinson, your turn.
And I'm a member of, a founding member of Bryant Park Neighborhood Association. I'm also the liaison from the commission to all the neighborhoods, and I try to attend all of the meetings. All of the neighborhoods are varied in activities and interests, and I didn't, at my outset, didn't use the political base of my neighborhood to work for the betterment of the city. I have a sort of an issue with communication both from the city and from the neighborhoods communicating. It's important, and we need to better that. The Parks Department is doing the best with the manpower that they have and the budget that they have. Leisure Services provides events in Bryant Park and helps facilitate the other activities in the other neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are near and dear to my heart, and Bryant Park is probably proportionately the highest density multifamily neighborhood in the city, and we recognize all people in the neighborhood as part of our city. And when other neighborhoods only allow home ownership to be members, I find that offensive to people that are here as renters. And I look forward to the improvements in all the neighborhoods, and I love the neighborhoods. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Kathy Turk.
All right. So as I stated earlier, I live in the Tropical Ridge Neighborhood Association, and that takes place between 10th Avenue North and Lucerne, Dixie, and 95. We have a very small neighborhood association, and yes, I am a member. I've been a member ever since Wawa came knocking on the door. It's so interesting because just a few weeks ago, we had a strategic planning session in our neighborhood. We examined our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. And the thing with Tropical Ridge is we have a very diverse neighborhood, and rather than hiding from it, we need to embrace that. We all agreed that the city is actually one of our strengths, because if any of us make a phone call, they listen. The city listens to us, and they do help us. Now, I would appreciate it if they knocked down the fees on hanging banners, though. I'll put that plug in right now. And A Street is an issue, but we all know about that one. But as far as the neighborhood itself, I came away from this strategic planning session extremely excited about my neighborhood. I'm looking forward to it. I think you guys should look forward to it too, because I think that you're going to see some really great things coming out of Tropical Ridge. Thank you.
Thank you. Amari Hardy.
When I first moved into the city, I moved into Tropical Ridge, and pretty quickly I became a member of my neighborhood association. And even though I've since moved out of that neighborhood, I still come to almost every neighborhood meeting. Now, obviously, as a commissioner, I have to attend other neighborhood associations as well. So sometimes if there's a conflict, I will dip out and go to another meeting. But I'm an active member of the Tropical Ridge Neighborhood Association. I think what we can do to help the neighborhoods is, frankly, to continue doing what the city's been doing. I think the city is going in the right direction, and I think a lot of that starts from the bottom-up level with our neighborhoods, focusing on crime, which was an issue in Tropical Ridge, which is the single poorest neighborhood in the city of Lake Worth with a 48% poverty rate, focusing on infrastructure. Our neighborhood had been neglected for a very long time. It had not received any attention. Our commissioner was absent in a way, and I really, really wanted to show my neighborhood and all the neighborhoods on the west side of Dixie, but particularly in my district, the attention that they deserve so that I can learn their issues. And infrastructure was an issue, and we're solving that problem with the road bond. We're solving that problem also with infrastructure from the CDBG program. As far as code enforcement is concerned, we did get a grant that focuses in part on my neighborhood, Tropical Ridge, and as well as the neighborhoods of Royal Point, Sienna, and the Genesis neighborhoods. I was instrumental in getting that grant money. I was the only person on the commission who realized, after reading the eligibility criteria for the Community Development Block Grant Program, that you can use that money for code enforcement. And so that's what I did, and that money is being deployed exclusively on the west side of the city in those neighborhoods that we discussed, and that has helped drive out a lot of the bad landlords that we have in the city and put the pressure on them. I would like to add to that two things. We have to work more closely with the county, and we have to work more closely with FDOT, and both of those things to the benefit of our neighborhoods. We used to be able to get REAP grant money for your neighborhood banners, and they recently took that away, the county did, because they wanted control over that process. We have to let them know that our neighborhoods need that money. Additionally, with FDOT, we have a traffic problem. There was no one from our neighborhood at the table with FDOT as they were creating the redesign of the 10th Avenue North interchange. I am at the table. I'm on a first, last, and middle name basis with the folks from FDOT, and I intend to continue to do so on the behalf of my neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, thank you. Kathy Turk has raised her rebuttal. That's her first of her 2-minute rebuttals. And her timekeeper ready? You may start.
The only thing I'd like to add to that is that on the CDBG money, that is money that is used for infrastructure, and it does take part, or there is a certain part of our community that is eligible for that. The issue I have with using it for code enforcement is it's like using birthday money to pay your bills. If we have a problem and we need to bring in additional code officers, then we should have brought them in. We use this birthday money in order to buy greenways and infrastructure and parks and things that we can't afford as a city. So I take it back a little bit on that. I know that originally we sat at the table, there was only about 5 of us, but we sat at the table and we said, okay, code enforcement, we can do that for a year, clean things up, maybe 2 years. But now I understand that it's actually moved over to almost a permanent thing. I know Amari got very upset when they use consultants rather than employees. But again, we shouldn't be using birthday money to pay our bills. If we have a need for bills, then we should be putting that into our budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Amari Hardy has opted to use his 2-minute rebuttal, his first 2-minute rebuttal on this topic. Is timekeeper ready? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Hardy.
So let's talk about the CDBG grant program money. That program was created by Congress. It's an over 30-year program. Congress defines what is an appropriate or an inappropriate use of that money. And so if you actually read the CDBG money, you will see that code enforcement is actually a perfectly fine use of it. And if you actually do what I did, which is got a report from Palm Beach County as to how every single city that gets CDBG money, how do they use that money? And I found that there were cities all over Palm Beach County that were using this money on code enforcement, especially the cities that have our demographics and that have our problem with landlords. So I would first of all object to the idea that CDBG money, simply because we've used it for infrastructure in the past, must forever be used for infrastructure. And one of the reasons why I would object to that is not only because it's an eligible use, but also because for the first time in a long time, we have more money for infrastructure in this city than we've ever had. The voters, thank God, approved a $40 million road bond. In addition to that, the voters of Palm Beach County approved the penny sales tax, of which we will get approximately $24 million. So when I looked at the eligible uses for CDBG, I said, why would we triple down on infrastructure when we have the road bond, we have the penny sales tax money, and both of those things together are more than enough to handle our infrastructure needs, especially given the fact that we could use the money for another purpose. And so that's number one. The other thing is I would object to the characterization that this money is birthday money. This is an entitlement program. Our city, by virtue of our demographics, is entitled to this money, period. We get it every single year. It passes through the county to us, and we've gotten that money for as long as we can remember, and we will continue to get that money. So as other cities have done, I expect that we should use this money to continue to put the pressure on the city's worst landlords who have been bad neighbors to the homeowners around them and who have been bad landlords to their tenants. That's really important. And I think it's important that we think out of the box and actually learn these programs, because that is how you solve problems. You can't solve problems if the only thing you look to is what we've done in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our next question is going to be a 1-minute question, timekeepers and candidates. And we're going to start with Kathy Turk. We're going to work our way down the line and end up with Amari Hardy. 1-minute question. I'm holding. You're making her sweat out this question now, though.
It's not like bingo, Brian.
We ready? Okay. You are being elected to a 3-year term. What role do you see the city taking in the upcoming census of 2020? How can we make sure the count is fair and accurate for our city? Kathy Turk.
Well, obviously, the city's going to take a really big role in this. We also have to work with Horizons and Bridges and all of the nonprofits and all of the groups. So we should probably be having meetings with them now to get together so that we can make sure that everyone understands exactly what's on it. I also wouldn't totally object if we all agreed not to put down where we were born or what country we're from. That would probably help us quite a bit get an accurate count. As you know, the count is extremely important to our city. So I believe that the city takes a huge part in this. I think all of the nonprofits are going to have to come on board. We need to understand how important this is, and we need to start now. Thank you.
Thank you. Herman Robinson?
Actually, I think this is more than a 1-minute question, but the census is terribly important. If we get a population to 50,000 people, the CDBG money won't be designated from the county, but it'll be designated directly to us. Terribly important. And the census is a big part of that. The census is also going to dictate gerrymandering. And when I talk about gerrymandering on the dais, it's a national issue that is going to affect Lake Worth when we have 3 representatives to other levels that consider Lake Worth not that important in their elections. So gerrymandering is terribly important, and it's part of a national conversation that we should be having, not and okay.
Just reminder.
I need that other man.
Just reminder to the candidates, they can always use their R's, their rebuttals, if they feel that it merits more time or they have a difference of opinion with another candidate. Tom Copeland.
Thanks. I would mirror what I've heard so far, working with nonprofits and other entities reaching out outside of Lake Worth. I'm a big fan of that, and we're going to talk a lot about that tonight. But I'd also like to point out that one of the best ways to bring government to the people is by getting face-to-face. So I like the idea of getting face-to-face with these people. So a grassroots campaign. We are going to, if it is indeed important to get and it is, to get an accurate count than actually getting to these doors and explaining that. We also need to know where we're starting at as well. We have 36,000 residents here in the city, but we do know that many residents do live in homes where the count may be much higher. They call it the shadow population. So I think the best way to do that is getting face-to-face and reaching out outside of our city as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's going to take an effort. I mean, you know, we do have that, as Tommy said, the shadow population, and to get them to talk to us, to even let us know that they're there, it's important that we get to that 50,000 number and get that money for ourselves, and it's more money than we would get with the population that we have. I disagree that we should be discussing gerrymandering on the dais, because again, it's a national issue, and we can't solve that problem when 5 commissioners vote on it. We spend so much time talking about these things, an hour for each meeting, and that goes over 3 meetings. The business of the city needs to come first, and the business of the city is going to be key on the census. So I think the city has already set forth a plan on how to get people involved. Kathy's right, getting the nonprofits in. So that's really what we need to do. It's going to have to be buttoned down, and we're going to have to just go after it and explain to these folks, we're not here to take you away. We're here to count you.
Thank you. Our next question is going to be a 2-minute question. Oh, Amari, thank you for reminding me. Sorry about that.
What I'll say is, I don't think it's a good thing that our 7 square mile city has 4 state representatives, 3 of whom have never darkened the doorstep of our city hall to see what it is that we need. And so I think it's important that we get a good census count, because our 7 square mile city deserves a representative who will actually be here and listen to us. The key thing is we need outreach. We need census outreach. The sheriff does believe that we have about a 10 to 15,000 shadow population. Just to paint a picture of what this shadow population means in terms of missed opportunities, each individual that's not counted costs the city $1,200 in grant funding. So if we can just get out there and have outreach with people the way that LA does, they work really hard to get their count accurate, the way that other cities do, we can finally get an accurate count and get all of our grant money. Right now we get $300,000 of CDBG grant money. That's based on our population. That's based on our housing statistics. Imagine what that would be if our population were to jump, not because we had extra people, but because simply we counted them, right? So I think that's very important. We need outreach.
Apologize for the oversight. Okay, the next question is going to be a 2-minute question, as I stated. We're going to start with Tom Copeland, go on to Herman Robinson, and end up with Richard Gercio. And 2-minute question. Topic, penny sales tax. The penny sales tax was supposed to bring our city roughly $20 million for infrastructure improvements, 6 of which was already spent. Do you approve of what the $6 million was spent on, and what do you think should be done with the remaining $14 million? Tom Copeland.
Okay, wow, it came up nice and early, huh? Great. So yes, I do. To answer the question, yes, I do approve of what the city spent its money on. We know that when it comes to investing in infrastructure, that the city investing in areas where we can grow industry and manufacturing is where we're going to get the greatest return on our tax dollars back down the road. So taking money and investing it into Boutwell Road and the Park of Commerce is an incredibly important move. I'm proud that we were able to do that and recognize that that's an important way to grow our tax base. I would say with the remainder of the penny sales tax dollars, well, we want to start with what penny sales tax dollars are destined for, what you're supposed to be using them for. You're supposed to be using them on infrastructure. So spending money on, I've heard ideas of spending money on redoing a pool. I've heard ideas of spending money on redoing amenities. These are not infrastructure projects, those are amenities. We can't spend money on them, in my opinion. I think that argument can be made. What I'd like to do is I'd like to see penny sales tax dollars invested into mobility and walkability into and out of our downtown corridors. And very specifically, I'd love to see penny sales tax dollars, some portion of it, invested into our alleyways to make those walkable and bikeable. A nice permeable surface, light them up, put some paint down on them. Let's get people walking into and out of our downtown. I'd also like to see penny sales tax dollars used to what extent it can be into our electric infrastructure. We know how important our electric infrastructure is, specifically as it is a grid. It's more of a distribution system than a generation system, and that's going to, focusing on that is what's going to help us continue to diversify ourselves. with our money coming in, and also we have an electric utility. So I'd like to see us put money actually into the infrastructure with a focus on reliability, because people deserve good, reliable, cheap energy. Thank you.
Thank you. Herman Robinson.
Yeah, the birthday money was mentioned. I think the penny sales tax is our inheritance money from the county, and I think it's terribly important that we spend it wisely now that it's taken us a year to get to a conversation, a workshop on the casino park property. And there couldn't be a better infrastructure project than attracting tourism to Lake Worth. We've already spent $3 million on the Park of Commerce, well spent. We've spent the remaining money on security and safety in our city, well spent. But we can leverage the remaining money to make improvements and amenities that our community deserves. The money is a difficult decision to make because you know, obviously people have different desires, but the conversation has to be had. February 7th, we're finally going to have a workshop on the penny sales tax and education and the beach complex improvements. And I look forward to that. I look forward to serving the community with what they deserve, not necessarily, well, what they deserve. They deserve quality amenities that should be an attraction to Palm Beach County, and everybody that visits Florida come to our town and see our beachfront park. That's.
Thank you. Kathy Turk.
Hi. So this penny sales tax is actually one of my top 10. You know, if you look up our other municipalities around us, Boynton Beach had listed 171 projects that they're going to be spending their penny sales tax on. So we are really behind the ball on this one. As you said, we spent approximately $6 million before, and of course the Boutwell money was spent because we had to match the money. Obviously, a good investment there. I think that some monies. I'm disappointed that it's taken us 2 years to come up with this meeting and to discuss where we're going to spend the penny sales tax. It's irresponsible. I do recognize that we have a problem at the casino. There's nothing that says blight like a pool that's been boarded up for 2 years. I'm not sure that a pool there right now is the answer because we haven't seen any numbers. We haven't seen numbers. We have to do something that's going to be economically sustainable. So I would definitely like to see us address the casino. Obviously, we need to, again, take a look at the numbers and economically sustainable. As far as the parking, I think that some of that money probably could have waited until we had a full discussion and cleared a complete budget. But all in all, I think that, well, what can I say? I think that we should have waited. I think we should have had a budget meeting. I think that we, obviously, Boutwell needed to happen. And that's where I stand on it. Thank you.
Amari Hardy.
I believe Herman Robinson has a rebuttal, or are we going to wait until everyone is?
We're going to wait until everyone goes for rebuttals. In addition, well, we're going to wait until everyone goes for rebuttals.
Okay. The first thing I'll say is that it's hard to say that we should wait to create a parking solution until we have a budget and all of these things, which, by the way, we have sought out these things, while also saying that we should have spent and decided the penny sales tax money 2 years ago. Now, I agree that the process by which we have decided where this money goes has been lacking. I believe Herman Robinson and I have both been screaming from the top of our lungs that this is not the appropriate process, that we should not be spending the money in dribs and drabs. I remember going to National League of Cities and watching Commissioner Keith James, who's now running for mayor in West Palm Beach, talk about this less than a year after the penny sales tax had passed. And he gave an entire presentation to elected officials all around the country about how before the money had even been decided by the voters that they would get it, that they had decided what to do with that money, and that they had actually begun the process of bonding that money out. Meanwhile, in Lake Worth, again, we're spending it in dribs and drabs, and I have spoken about that from the beginning, that it was not the appropriate process. As they say, you can't fight City Hall. We do have a very strong city manager. We don't always agree on things, but both Herman and I have said that this money should have been decided up front. That's very important. What would I spend the money on? It goes in this order for me. It goes roads, that's the first thing. Because even though we have a $40 million road bond program, if you actually look at it, there were many, many roads that were left off of the list because this time we came back for a smaller bond. So there is actually about $10 million worth of roads that are in disrepair, that are going to get worse, that are going to get more expensive to fix, that if we don't fix with the penny sales tax money, we would not be able to do it in a cost-effective manner. We need to do that as quickly as possible. So that's my first thing with that money. It needs to be spent on roads. By the way, that doesn't include the 2.5 miles of unpaved roads that remain in this city, many of which are on the south side of the city, many of which are on the west side of the city, many of which are in areas where the poverty is very high and where people deserve the better infrastructure than what they have. The other thing is a pool. And it's been said that we have no numbers. Well, first of all, I'm the only person up here who's visited every single municipal pool in the county. I've gotten their numbers back. Our pool actually loses less money than every other pool in the county except for Calypso Bay. So with the extra parking revenue, we should be able to cover the operation cost. All we have to do is get the infrastructure dollars to fix the pool. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Herman, I know you put your R up, but before you go say anything.
Twice.
The NAPC, in their infinite wisdom, thought that this was going to be a big issue. So they're offering a 1-minute extra talking period on this topic. We'll start with Herman, go down to Tom Copeland, Richard Guercio. Oh, Richard, I'm sorry. We're going to let that happen.
You're leaving out the ends there, John.
Yeah, never mind. You'll have one more minute.
Good. I'm glad we waited a little bit to decide what to do with penny sales tax. You know, when it first came in March of 2017, everybody was wondering, it was right when the pool was closed, and everybody was saying, okay, let's do the pool, and then let's do this, and let's do the other thing. And I'm glad we kind of waited a little bit, take a step back. This is really, you know, a lot of money that we need to deal with, and it's over 10 years. So to have a good logical plan rather than to jump in, I think isn't such a bad thing. I would say this about roads, absolutely not. We have $40 million. We're going to be about $5 million under budget when the whole thing is said and done. We have another $1 million that we got in premiums from when the bonds were sold. $587,000 from the first tranche and $429,000 from the second tranche. When we're done with the roads, we're going to have what's left. There's a higher PCI, meaning a higher pavement condition index. There's less money to repair and to fix. So rather than having 15% of the money left over and having 15% more roads, it's more likely to be 25 or 30% more roads. So I think we wait on roads until we have that, until we're done, and then we can apply penny sales tax money to it. As far as the grid goes, we're already doing the grid. We just signed a 7-year power purchase agreement with Orlando that's going to lower our purchase costs for energy by about $4.8 to $5.2 million over the period of that 7 years. That money is going to get plowed into either the debt service for redoing the grid and building us extra capacity. So I don't think we need to do any of that. As far as the pool goes, well, let's go back to penny sales tax and what we should do with it. Scott Maxwell had a great idea. When we talked about this, it was July 25th, 2017, penny sales tax workshop. And it was buy land for future use. The city attorney said, no, it's not in the ballot language. It's in the state statute, but it's not in the ballot language. What happened was they backdoored that money through the CRA to buy those properties, the same amount of money, $2.5 million, against what the city attorney had told us we do. I didn't see any public opinion from the city attorney saying different from what he had said. So we've done that in a certain way. We just need to find things with ROI. In fact, I charged my board, the FAB, to find opportunities for ROI that were within the ballot language, not the state statute.
All right. My apologies, Mr. Guercio. I guess the two of you on the ends are getting short shrifted by me.
Say it again, John?
I apologize to you for not having you in on that one.
That's all right.
All right. The NAPC has said this is a big topic, so they're going to allow 1 more minute discussion on this penny sales tax question. And so Herman, your R is taken back at this point, okay? Unless you want to use it again.
So you're saying we have 3 minutes?
You have 1 more minute to go. You start, then Tom Copeland, then Richard Guercio, then Amari Hardy, then Kathy Turk.
Then we have a rebuttal.
No. Then you can have a rebuttal if you want.
He's saying you might not need the rebuttal.
Yeah. Okay.
You get a minute.
You can talk now. You have an extra minute.
I would like to take a minute to really have people understand that a pool is an amenity. It's not an income producing anywhere. We've spent $2 million for parking downtown, which the Finance Advisory Board agreed with, and we were waiting for any other from the advisory board, and seemed to be in agreement with how we were spending money. The roads are got a good jump start with the bond. The electric is a bonding issue. That's a revenue bond that the electric should be able to take care of it itself. And nobody comes to visit Lake Worth because we have new roads. They will come because we have parking downtown and we have a beautiful casino park at the beach.
All right, Tom Copeland.
Thank you. I don't want to spend too much time on the pool because I imagine that's probably going to come up, but what I will say is a few things that I've heard. The pool loses less money. That may be true, but the difference is absorption ability. So the difference is our fund is $4.5 million in the hole already. So the county can absorb those kinds of losses. As a small city like us, we cannot. Another thing is I want to make the distinction between profit and revenue. Commissioner Robinson is right in that amenities are not designed to make profit. They should be designed to make revenue. That is important. Revenue is an important thing. But onto the roads. Another thing that just to throw it out there on the roads, at the end of the road bond program, we're going to have approximately 33% of our roads redone to the PCI index that Mr. Garcia is talking about. But that is 33%, guys. 33%. That means we have 66% more to do. So I don't disagree on roads. I think that's a good idea. But also looking into what some of the other cities have done. So if you look at West Palm Beach, they have put money into community centers, they put money into neighborhoods, and we don't have a single community center here in this city. Just want to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Curcio.
Again, when it comes to roads, we're going to have a third of the roads done, but we're going to have all this money left over to do more roads in the end. And I think we just wait until it's done before we start spending money on roads. The opportunity to get ROI out of this. This is money that we can build something, generate revenue, and then have recurring revenue once the sales tax money runs out. It was a great idea, but it got shot down, and now we're trying to do that. I don't like the way it was done, but that's the manner that it is. As far as the pool goes, and I'm guessing we are going to talk about the pool. The pool loses less money than all the other pools, but don't forget we had a $178,000 water bill for the pool alone in its last year of operation because we had a 15,000 gallon a day leak, right? And that was out of $211,000 for the water bill for the entire complex, right? That doesn't count the chemicals as well. So when you add all of that in together, it can be a profitable model if we do it properly, and hopefully we talk about the pool, and I'll talk about it then.
Thank you. Mari Hardy.
I'll say that maybe we had a $170,000 water bill at the pool because we have refused for years to invest in the pool. And I think that's really important. You can't sandbag the pool and say that it doesn't work. So let's get that out of the way. I also want to clear up something. Our beach fund is not $4.5 million in the hole. Our beach fund has reserves, and our beach fund will actually grow its reserves because we raised the parking rates to meet the market here in Palm Beach County. And a lot of people thought that we wouldn't see the traffic come to the beach. Well, the fact is, I actually looked at the numbers the other day. The revenue is up. The traffic has not actually come down. So we have the money to operate a pool now without the loss worrying me. I was extremely concerned about the loss. That's why I went and had the other pools, not just the county-owned pools, but the locally owned pools, open up their books to us because I wanted to see how they operate. As regards the roads, we're $5 million under budget now, but what about later? Anyone who's done a construction project knows that you may be under budget today and over budget tomorrow. Meanwhile, we'll have to wait for the road bond project to be done while people are living and driving on roads that are really, really terrible. And I've had the misfortune of having to tell someone who wanted us to improve their road that we didn't have any money. We should use the penny sales tax money now for the roads. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Turk.
First of all, let me say on the beach complex, when I say that it needs to be economically sustainable, I am not suggesting that the pool needs to be able to pay for itself, but I am saying that we need to see the numbers and we need to know that we are paying for it, or that we can pay for it. Also, on the water bill, I just want to point out that we're not paying ourselves for our water. We have to pay Palm Beach for that water because we can't use our own water at the pool. The other thing, as far as roads are concerned, I just point out here too that I live on the corner of B Street and 9th Avenue. 9th Avenue is a dirt road. And as far as CDBG money, I know that Amari had just said that we didn't need to use it for infrastructure because we have all these other monies coming, but we do. And as far as the penny sales tax, again, I think that we all need to sit down at the table. We need to put our priorities out there and hash it out. It needs to happen sooner rather than later, and you're going to do it on February. So hopefully that comes forth. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let me interrupt. How are these guys so far? Put your hands together. And our moderator. And keep it going for the timekeepers. All right. This is the 2-minute halftime show. The 2-minute halftime show is the Playhouse. The Playhouse had a bunch of people here all day today for us, and tonight and tomorrow, to break down and clean up. And they're running their air conditioning and their staff, and what we're going to do is our ushers are going to pass a basket right now. So right after this is all the gotcha questions, by the way, and there's just hundreds of gotcha questions. Sorry in advance, guys. All right, so I've been asked to tell you that the Playhouse does not need your money. They have an abundance of money. But here's the challenge. It is in your wallet and in your purse right now. So when this basket comes down the aisle, please take, this is for the Playhouse. This is for the air conditioning and the lights and the staff. Please take care of them. And I'm going to go back to, John, you ready? You're stretching? Oh, there you go. Stretch till it hurts. We do have a credit card reader. There's a couple neighborhoods here with the credit card readers.
Keep begging, John.
All right, yeah, we got all kinds of controversial things coming up. All the gotcha questions. You guys did your homework? Sure you did. I'm sure you did. John, you ready?
My dog ate mine.
I am ready.
All right, let's get back to business.
All right, folks, we have about an hour left for everything to wrap up here tonight. And that being said, our next question is going to be with Herman Robinson, coming back this way, and then finishing up with Tom Copeland. And the question is a 30-second question, timekeepers. I know it's a quick one, and it's about a short topic, the CRA, the Community Redevelopment Agency, something I know a little about.
Did you say 30 minutes or 30
Yeah,
seconds?
yeah, I know, it's going to be a long one. All right. 30 days. Candidates, do you think that the CRA is an asset, or do you think it's time to sunset it? Herman Robinson.
Not an easy question. The CRA is in existence because it is effective being not political. It's also a problem because it's not political. It's difficult to develop by committee. When we expect the entire community to have input into any project, there's a lot of people that are not going to be happy. The CRA is doing its job. It was an award-winning $23 million investment in Lake Worth, and they're continuing to bring investors to Lake Worth.
Thank you. Kathy Turk. 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
I know,
It's a quick one. Okay, so the CRA has obviously been an asset to this city. I think it's scheduled to sunset in 2030, and I think that by that time it's time for it to go. I think that we need to set parameters, we need to set goals for them, and at 2030, then we need to look at saying goodbye, and perhaps we bring some of those people in and we create a different type of organization within our city. But that's my opinion on the CRA.
Amari Hardy.
The CRA is unquestionably an asset. Its board is comprised of some of the most professional people in Palm Beach County. Brent Whitfield, who won Florida Engineer of the Year, is on that board. Chris Pettit, who works for the county, is on that board. They've done a phenomenal job. I wasn't here in 2008 and 9, but I do know that this city was on the ropes at that time, and it was the CRA that worked with the housing leadership of the Housing Leadership Council of Palm Beach County, on whose board of directors I serve, that went out and got a $23 million grant that kept this city afloat, the NSP2 grant. And there are people living in these homes today. We need the CRA. Also, their tax money comes to us rather than the county.
Okay, Richard Garcio.
Obviously, the CRA has done some good stuff, but Here's where I have a problem. They go out and they spend $900,000 for a building that someone's going to come in and redevelop, and they sell it to that person to $125,000. Things like that, I'm a financial guy, it just blows my mind. I know they do some good stuff, but that money, the CRA is permitted to have police presence in their district. That's per cap and bear, by the way. So I could see $1.8 million for 2 buildings. That's 13 deputies, right? Add a little bit more money out of the general fund. We have 5 deputies per shift in the CRA district.
Thank you. Tom Copeland.
So I will echo what I'm hearing tonight. The CRA is definitely an asset. It can work faster than the city can. The CRA can create incentives that the city cannot do. And they are an incredible team, to echo Commissioner Hardy's comments, not just the CRA board, but the CRA staff as well. So they're an absolute asset to our city. One of the things that I'd like to take a look into, and we've had these conversations with the CRA, is looking into possibly doing some redistricting. That is a possibility, so I'd be interested in looking into that as well prior to the sunset. Thank you.
All right, we got everyone this time? I was hoping I didn't leave anyone out. All right, we have a 1-minute question. Utilities. It's a perfect 1-minute question. Okay, we're going to start with Tom Copeland, go to Richard Gercio, Amari Hardy, Kathy Turk, Herman Robinson on this one. It's a long question.
Great.
The Electric Utilities Director, along with the Electric Utility Advisory Board, negotiated a new power purchase agreement that will save the city over $20 million over the next 7 years. Question. Very recently, the city manager put the volunteer board on hiatus and instead will hold monthly Electric Utility Commission meetings. Do you agree with and are you prepared for this change? Or do you feel that there should still be Citizens Oversight Board on our largest income generating asset?
Wow, good one. What a zinger. You said no more zingers. That's a great one.
Zing, Tom Copeland.
Yeah, so the purchase power agreement is an incredible, it's going to do incredible things for the city. It is going to allow us, to Mr. DeCurcio's point, it is going to allow us to reinvest back into our grid. I want to say a couple of things about this because I was there for a few of those meetings when that occurred. And I would say that the City Commission does need to be more involved in it. It is our city's most important asset, and it is our city's biggest driver of tax revenue outside of our property taxes. That's incredibly important to understand. So I do see the commission needing to be more involved. However, I would say that citizen-led advisory boards, having sat on one and having been the chair of one most recently in November 2018, are an incredible asset. When the citizens can be at the table and they can guide, they can help to shape and guide policy for the people that make the decisions, that's a huge plus. I would say that instead of sunsetting, I like the idea of possibly restructuring, repurposing that citizen advisory board so that they're not necessarily useless. We can find uses for them, and I will be a strong proponent in making sure that all advisory boards, especially the EUAB, is involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Richard Gercio.
The city has taken on the role of the Electric Utility Advisory Board, right? That they're supposed to have meetings once a month. They've had 1 meeting so far. So to sunset the board now or to put them on hiatus, I think is a mistake. There's a lot of history in that board. You go into Lisa Maxwell's head, you're going to learn a lot of stuff. That girl knows what she's talking about, and I think that's a valuable asset to the city. I think advisory boards in general are generally dismissed by the city. We waste our time out there, as far as I'm concerned, with the city just blowing them off and not doing anything with it. I feel with my background, my understanding of the utility, you know, you ask better questions, you get better answers. You get better answers, you get better analysis. And I ask those better questions. And I think that this is one of the main reasons I should be sitting in that chair. We have a lot of challenges going forth with the utility and the grid, and I'm the best experienced one here to deal with that.
Thank you. Mari Hardy.
I understand that the city manager would like the city commission to take a more involved role in the electric utility, but I do not think that we should use more involvement from the city commission as an excuse basically to sunset what has probably been one of the more constructive boards in the history of the city. I mean, I would put the Electric Utility Advisory Board up there with Planning and Zoning, up there with Historic Resources and Preservation. That board does great work. As a matter of fact, this power purchase agreement would not have been able to have been accomplished had we not changed our procurement process to involve this board, which includes people with tons of experience and expertise in this particular area. Here's the thing. I think it's very important that the city commission set the course for this city. I understand that the city manager drives the bus, but it's the city commission that tells the city manager where it is that he's supposed to go. And I can tell you, we have not had one discussion on the dais about sunsetting this board, and I think that it needs to stop immediately. As far as I'm concerned, we haven't changed the ordinance that governs this board. They need to be meeting as of February. That's my belief. It's an extraordinarily constructive board.
Thank you. Kathy Turk.
So I had the pleasure of meeting with Ed Liberty last week, and I put out a video absolutely butchering his lesson he gave me on electricity. But the new contract is a great thing for the city, and I do appreciate the advisory board being there and working on that and helping with that. I do think that leaving people in limbo, not knowing whether they're going to meet or not meet or what their purpose is just rude. It's disrespectful to the people who've gotten us to this place. I think that, that flag, it's so distracting. Okay, so anyway, I do believe that we do need to keep it. Perhaps it needs to be refocused. We need to at least show these people respect, bring the powwow together. What is it we want from them? What is it we expect from them? And move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Herman Robinson.
It's a matter of communication. We have professionals. I don't think anybody on any of the boards are actually, well, I take that back. There are professionals on the boards, but we have to understand that we have a staff that is professional. But the problem is in communication. And if the citizens don't feel engaged and involved, and the communication from the city, it generates a bad feeling. I was very instrumental in keeping our Leisure Services Board. So that's how important I think the boards are. But again, you know, these people are professional. They're doing a good job. 7 years from now, when Mr. Liberty's fantastic negotiations come to a new day, we're going to have some really serious questions about maintaining our own electric.
All right. Everyone got their chance on that one? 2-minute question. Timekeepers. Zinger alert. Topic. Parking. We're going to start with Kathy Turk, Amari Hardy, Richard Curcio, Tom Copeland, and then Herman Robinson to finish. Downtown Lake Worth is such a popular destination that parking is becoming an issue. What are your thoughts about building a parking garage, installing parking meters, and extending the purpose of resident beach decals to include free downtown parking? If this goes forward, should this be a penny sales tax project or a CRA endeavor? Go.
Wow. All right, so first of all, I think we do need a parking czar, because there's different parking needs and different parking problems in different areas of the city, and we need one person who understands all of them and not just the beach. As far as the downtown, to be really honest, I have never had a problem parking in our downtown area. I'm not cool enough to hang out on a Friday night at 11 or 12, but I have never had a problem. And maybe it's because I'm a resident and I know where to park. I know our businesses are saying that we have a problem. I believe them. If we're going to do a parking garage, I, again, would be okay with that. I just want to see the plans. I want to see the numbers. I want to know that it's economically sustainable before we do that. And there was something about the CRA in there. I believe that the houses purchased for this parking were in the CRA district. So we will at least be partnering with the CRA if, in fact, that property is going to be used for that purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Amari Hardy.
I actually agree with my opponent. I don't think that we have a parking problem. A parking problem is not what happens when you have to maybe walk a block on a Saturday night. That's a once-a-week problem. As the old saying goes, you don't build a church for Easter Sunday, and you don't create parking solutions in a downtown for a Saturday night. I think what we can do is, you know, before we go off on the parking garage direction, we need to figure out, are there assets already in place that we can use more flexibly. For example, if you go to the parking lot right behind First Avenue South, there's a church, and that church has no vehicles parked in it at night, and there are, guess what, 137 empty parking spots there. Rather than spending your tax dollars building a parking garage that cannot then be unbuilt, perhaps we should approach this church and try to lease their 137 parking spots. Perhaps we should approach the Wells Fargo and try to lease their parking spots, and the same for TD Bank. And perhaps we should have signage, wayfinding signage to these parking spots and attendants so that we can let people know that there's overflow parking in this area. Now, as regards to CRA, if we do go the parking garage route, I think the CRA is the best entity to handle that. Because of the charter, there are issues with the city buying and holding land and doing things. And so the CRA is empowered to create public-private partnerships. Okay, and if we go that route, that's what it is that I think we should do. I think we should partner with someone who can perhaps build a parking garage with some residential associated with it and make sure that there are parking spaces available to the public in that garage. And guess what? We only pay for the land. Right? We don't pay for the actual construction of the parking garage. That's the direction that I think we should go if we decide to use a parking garage. But we should seek options that give us more flexibility and that are cheaper, for example, like renting those 137 parking spots in the church behind downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Guercio.
I am one of the cool kids who hangs out on a Friday night at 10 o'clock. And I maybe have to go around the block once or twice. Michelle can tell you that. I mean, and the car is always parked within range of where I am. If it's a block, if it's two, big deal. It's downtown Lake Worth. I think for the older folks that come here, though, that come to the theater and what have you, you get this clog up right here in front of the theater, as a matter of fact, the valet parking. So if those 137 spaces could be used maybe for valet parking, and it's just around the corner, that's a great idea. I don't think that we really need to build parking garages. If we do go that way, Amari's right. We should use the CRA to do it. It's actually a lot right behind here. That would make a great little two-story garage right behind us here. And just add another level of that. That would be as close as I would want to do that. That's it.
Thank you. Tom Copeland.
All right, so a couple of things. So I'm a guy who starts with data. We do have a parking program that, we do have a parking study that came out in October 2018 that shows for fact we absolutely have a parking problem in downtown. You can also see it if you walk into the businesses in downtown and spend a little time talking to the businesses. I encourage my commissioners, whoever's elected, to please do that. Go talk to these business owners because they will give you story after story after story. We do have a wayfinding problem in downtown. There's no question about that. We have signs that say free parking with no arrow. You have no idea where it is. The answer to this is that we need a parking program, not a parking garage necessarily, although I am in favor of a parking garage, but a parking garage framed into a comprehensive plan for what our downtown is going to be going forward, okay? The idea of using a church is a temporary solution to an immediate permanent problem. I do go downtown too. I do talk to the owners. It is a problem. This is not a CRA project, though it is in the CRA district. And we do have a star, I'm excited to say. We have Larry Lightfoot. This guy knows parking like you wouldn't believe. This guy lives, eats, sleeps, and breathes parking. So I am in favor of parking garage because it does solve a long-term problem. We are not going to have flying cars in the next 5 years. But you know what we do have right now? We have people that drive into our downtown from out of town. They stay on the thoroughway. Okay, they look around, they see no parking. They look down alleyways, they look a little bit dark. They don't see any wayfinding. You know what they do? U-turn and they leave. And I am not willing to allow that to happen anymore. We have got to make sure that we are allowing people to come into our city and find their way into our downtown. We can't on one say that we don't need any parking, we don't need to look at any parking, we're all good, let's use churches. And on the other hand, talk about how dead our downtown is. You can't have those two things. We need a comprehensive plan for parking in downtown like every other city in Palm Beach County. Thank you.
Thank you. Herman Robinson.
Yeah, parking is a problem because if you can't find a space, then it's a problem for you. Perception is reality when you can't find a space. We're lucky enough to know our town, where to park. But the future takes, Del Rey's, sudden success was 20 years in the making. And we got to start with land for parking. A perfect opportunity to have citizen input as a parking authority. the public-private partnership with shared space is the future, and including housing in that parking structure. So there's no free parking at all, and we're going to have to realize that. But the stores and the customers want parking. So I look forward to working with the CRA and using the data that our parking study proved that we do need parking. So again, it's decisions that have to be made, and the longer we put them off, the further behind we get in moving to the future. That's it.
Thank you. All right, it's going to be a 30-second question. Zinger. We're going to start with Omari Hardy and work straight down the line and end with Richard Curcio. All right, all the timekeepers ready? Thank you very much. Reputation. How do you feel about changing the name of the city to Lake Worth Beach? And how much do you think it would cost? Please do not reply with, I will respect whatever the voters decide. Go, please.
Before I get to that, which should be a short answer, I just want to say, saying that people don't come here because they can't find parking is like Yogi Berra saying that no one goes there anymore, it's too crowded. The fact that we have a quote-unquote parking problem shows you that there are plenty of people willing to come here and find a place to park. I don't want to spend their tax dollars building things that you can't unbuild. My answer to the Lake Worth Beach thing is I appreciated giving the voters the opportunity to vote for it. I personally will be voting no. Frankly, if I had my druthers, I would actually choose Lake Worth by the sea. So,
Thank you. Kathy Turk.
My druthers was Lake Worth Shores. So as far as the beach, again, of course, I will respect what the voters do. We will hope to implement this in a way that gives all the advantages that people are hoping to gain from it. 15 seconds. I would actually think I'm going to be voting yes, just so we can stir up the mojo. Perhaps we can make it part of a bigger rebranding. I know that we have history, but we have a great history museum, and this is just another chapter. Thank you.
Thank you. Herman Robinson.
Change is, a lot of people don't like change. I think that there are good arguments to change the name. A lot of momentum is in the works now, and a name change that we are moving to a new day as Lake Worth Beach would be great. I'm not going to take you said not to answer the citizen input, but this is a perfect opportunity to have citizen input into whether we want to change the name or not.
Thank you. Tom Copeland, you'll have your 30 seconds, then
Yeah.
2 minutes at the end.
I was actually hoping to see if I can pull that. It's because it's not that crucial. Is that okay? Okay,
Sure.
thank you. All right.
Absolutely.
So as a marketing director of a law firm, a big regional law firm, we spend millions of dollars in advertising that I run those budgets. I am absolutely for a name change, no question about it. It is an opportunity to rebrand and to put ourselves out there and create some new reputations about ourselves. Here's what I will say. I haven't heard anybody answer the question of how much it'll cost. I can try to answer it. I can take a stab at it, knowing from what I know of signage, it'll cost probably a little bit less than $250,000 because you have to think about the pylons, and the biggest expense would be the water tower. So not that much money. Thank you, and it would be over time. Thank you.
Richard Curcio.
I'm against it completely. And there's your answer. Some, as you may know, I've been working on a solution with the U.S. Postal Service, and that is to remove Lake Worth as the designation from the other zip codes that have our name. Once that's removed, then we are just Lake Worth. Now, we have an issue with 3 carrier routes that are in 6-1. Part of that process would be converting those. We need to defend our identity, not change it.
Thank you. Okay, the big rebuttal button has been pulled by Tom Copeland. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I want to address a few things. We are not losing our identity with a name change. Our identity is in our history, it's in our culture, it's in our downtown, it's in our beach complex, it's in our green spaces, it is in our city, it's ingrained in our city. We are not losing it. That's number one. Thank you. Thank you. We're not losing our identity. Our identity is up to us to behold. It has nothing to do with what our name is. Number two, this idea that we can just waltz into the post office and say, hey, postmaster, I need you to fix this for me, okay? I don't even know where to begin with that. This is the post office we are talking about, guys. Please use common sense. I would also say that, again, I just want to reiterate a couple of things. Change is scary. I get it. Change is scary. But sometimes it's necessary. Personally, I would have liked to see a name change happen a little bit later, after my term, after my first term in office, after we do some of the stuff that's on here, some of the stuff that's more important. But the fact that it's coming up right now, it's a good opportunity for us to create and rebrand our identity. We can hold our identity. We are not losing our identity, guys. The identity of Lake Worth is you guys. It's you. It's not in our name. It will do a lot for us, both for tourism. People will understand that we have a beach. People don't know that we have a beach. I am thoroughly convinced of that. It's an opportunity, guys, and that's what my campaign is all about. My campaign is about opportunity. So if you're not afraid of change, then let's get on board with this. Let's move this thing forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We've had another poll by Richard Gercio. Richard Gercio, you have 2 minutes.
You know, there is that whole adage that the only people that want change is babies with dirty diapers, and that's true in a sense. But here, to suggest that we're waltzing into the post office, I don't know if you know this. I produced the Palm Beach Community Educator for the School District of Palm Beach County. It's the 32-page thing that you get with the adult and community education classes in it. I mail out 2 million of these a year. I'm dealing with the highest level postal official in South Florida, the director of it, and the city attorney's office, and I'm talking about Christy Godot, by the way. This is absolutely solid, is what we were told to do. Write the letter, give it to him, he'll put it in front of the right people. It's how the process is. We can't just say we want to be 33460 because they won't do that. They've told senators, no, you can't just have one zip code. But the greater project is to remove our name, Lake Worth, from everywhere else. Because that's what the situation is, right? It's Lake Worth. We see crime in Lake Worth, whether it's Lake Worth or Lake Worth Beach. Do you call Delray Beach, or you call it Delray? You call it Delray, Boynton, Deerfield, Pompano. It's not going to change anything until we change the designations of the other zip codes. It costs nothing from the post office to do that at all. It's part of the service that they provide. In fact, 6-7 has already had themselves redesignated as a secondary to Wellington. They want to be Wellington as a primary. 4-9 was Green Acres as their secondary to Lake Worth. They had that changed to Wellington because they didn't want to be Green Acres out there. They don't want to be Lake Worth on the east side of 441 in horse country. They want to be Wellington, and we want to be Lake Worth. We don't want them to be Lake Worth either. All the crime stats from there get dumped on our 37,000 people. It's not like all the people there and all the crime and it homogenizes itself out. It gets dumped on our 37,000 people, and this is the way to change it, not by changing our name. It's a marketing ploy and a legacy play is what this is.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Gercio, don't sit down. We're going to come right back up the aisle. We've got a 1-minute question. We, the city of Lake Worth, have personnel for marketing information, for public information and marketing. How do you grade the job in which they are marketing the city, and how would you improve it? 1 minute.
It's a C+. We want to talk about the beach and people wanting to know that we have a beach. That's what SEO is for, search engine optimization, and we don't have any of that going on. If you search for beach in South Florida, Lake Worth should come up as a beach. I don't think that the website for the city is being properly maintained. There are no minutes for many of the advisory boards, I can tell you that, and none of the backup agendas or the videos for that stuff. There's just old data on the website, so we need to have that all. We really need to have a webmaster to go along with Ben. He shouldn't have to be doing everything all at once. I think he's done a great job during crisis. right? When we have these, we had 39 updates from Ben and the city when we had Hurricane Irma blow through here. So at least he's getting that sort of stuff out there. We get our periodic stuff happening, but we're not doing the best job that we can, particularly with the city's website, which is where all our information should be stored and readily accessible.
Thank you. Tom Copeland?
Yeah, great question. So how would I grade the job? I would say, given that it's one person, it's an unfair question, but I think Ben is doing the best he can with the limited resources he can, that he has at his disposal. For one guy, okay, we are a city of 37,000 people. We have a lot going on. We all know that. One guy handling it is absolutely inefficient. Again, just drawing on my experience as a marketing director for the law firm that I work at, and also doing all the marketing for my wife's real estate company. I also owned a web development company before, so I'm very familiar with SEO. But I just want to say that we need a marketing and communication strategic plan, okay? The way that you do this is you prioritize what information is most important to get out first, and then you build a team around that plan in order to execute it. I think we could find room in the budget for it. I think it should stay in the leisure services department because I think there's a home for that. And this could be everything from city happenings and city going-ons, getting those meeting up, getting that website updated, but also making sure that we're getting communications from inside this city, outside this city as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Herman Robinson.
I'm trying to understand whether we have a communication problem, a marketing problem, or an advertising problem. I don't think we have, well, we have a lot of work to do in all those areas. And the communication is key to our citizens. Advertising is tough to measure. Marketing is what we should be emphasizing, and it's I think not even. I hate to say we have a marketing department. There's one person trying to do communication. We need to recognize that marketing is a separate professional department, and I wish we had one. We need to have management recognize that we need to do more marketing for our city.
Thank you. Kathy Turk.
So I do think that Ben is doing a good job, given that he's got a really big job and he's only one person with limited resources. I wouldn't even know where to grade him on that. I absolutely agree with both Tom and Richard in the search engine optimization. We should be coming up in beach searches. Our website is that I would give a D. It's really poor. It's difficult to find what it is you're looking for on our website. We need a centralized calendar for our city. We need to have it so that not only city events, but community events. We also need to take better advantage of NAPC and NAPC's email list. We should be putting information out to the neighborhoods and to each individual person, or into the individual residents. As far as additional marketing, I go to the Dogwood Festival every year. Last time I went, there was, and I don't remember if it was Tallahassee or Jacksonville, but they were out there. They were recruiting in Georgia to bring people to their city because there's no state income tax and properties are cheaper. And we could do very similar. We've got great cottages and people would love to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Marty Hardy.
So Ben Kerr is the only communications official or officer that the city has. I don't know how many people know this, but Ben Kerr lives here in this city. As a matter of fact, Ben Kerr lives in my district. I represent Ben Kerr, and I'm not going to give Ben Kerr a C+. I've seen the work that this guy does. He comes in early, he stays late. I'm going to give this guy an A+ because he does an A+ effort on the behalf of the city in which he lives. So I understand that if we had more people, we would obviously be able to do more. But the fact is we are a very small city. The fact is we are also a very poor city. And the fact is that we have other very, very pressing needs. I'm really focused on improving the quality of the city, because if we improve the quality of the city, that quality will market itself to people who notice it, the way that it has over the past 5, 6 to 7 years. We have seen this city improve over and over again and attract new residents and attract new investment, and we did that with just one person. I think the most important thing we can do with our money, rather than hiring a staff of marketers, is to fix the problems that remain with the city and continue to move in the direction that we've been going. Thank you.
Thank you. 1 minute question coming up. We're going to start with Kathy Turk. go away from me than end up with Omari Hardy, who I'll attempt not to forget this time. Okay, city government operations question. 1 minute question. Some say that code compliance is overreaching. Others say that they aren't doing enough. What are your thoughts?
Wow. All right, so I've been attending all these neighborhood association meetings, and I have to tell you right now that I love Yolanda. Yolanda has said, one of the things that she said was that she tells her code officers that everyone's home, no matter what they may think of it, is a castle to that person, and they need to treat it with that respect. I believe that our code enforcement has a really big job. I think that they could actually walk every one of our streets and start writing up. You know, they wouldn't even need to get in their car. They could walk down the street, write up a bunch of code and do it. So I think that they're doing the best job they can. I think we've got more officers. I think that we need to continue to do it, and I think that we are doing it fairly. Thank you.
Thank you. Herman Robinson.
I am glad that code enforcement is stepping up its game. I ride with them and say, you know, pretend that you're going down the street looking to live on that street, and think of it as that's where you want to live. We're raising our standards, and that's a fact. The slumlords, or actually substandard housing, needs to be addressed, and code is working on that. Mark Stivers has recognized that customer service is a big part of code enforcement, and it's changing. It's a slow change. It's always going to be an easy punch when you get tagged for something, but they're an important part of making our city better. So I congratulate them for the work they do. Yolanda stepped up. Her leadership in her growth in that department has been fantastic. Mark Stivers is a new professional, wonderful director. So thank you.
Thank you. Tom Copeland.
Thank you. I will echo these statements, and I will echo any statements that put our staff first and empower first, because they are amazing people. A couple of things about code compliance. No, I don't believe that we're doing enough. I am in, again, south end of District 4. Drive down Federal, guys. I drive down Federal, and there's trash slung everywhere. There is many code issues all around in my half of the city. I would say that I'd like to see if we can find ways to make code compliance more efficient, in addition to seeing if we can find ways to bring on more code officers. One thing that I've understood is that code compliance, the way that they actually tag and go out into the neighborhoods, is they basically just do a sweep, they tag everything. I'd like to see us focus on worst case first, especially with safety as part of the problem as well. I'd also like to see if we can bridge the gap, and I'd like to be part of an effort to bridge the gap between PBSO and code enforcement as well, bring on some sort of a formal relationship there. And one of the easy ways that we can do this is, a lot of people don't know this, if you call PBSO but don't leave your name and don't do a report doesn't happen. But the report is actually how they build the data and evidence in order to be able to declare some of these properties nuisance. So that's really important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard Garcia. There's a problem when they go out and do a sweep with code enforcement and they're tagging a Christmas decoration in the median in South Palm Park. and Ted Johnson called Mark Stivers, and the answer was, well, the guy was new and we told him just go out and tag everything. Well, that's bad management, and that's just not training a guy. Give him a stack of red cards, give him a list of code violations, say, go get him, kid. That's just not the way to do it. We do need code enforcement. And Tom, everyone's right here about the malaise that we have here in the city. I believe slumlords should be bashed with $250 a day. But that money shouldn't be going to the tenants to help them in legal aid. That money needs to go back to code compliance and to make up for the money we're losing because we're not getting the ad valorem out of these places. So I think that we really need to concentrate on that, but we need to train these people. It needs to be customer friendly. They're coming into your neighborhood and telling you there's something wrong, but you walk out and there's red labels all over the place, garbage cans and all of that kind of stuff. It has to be a little more customer friendly, but it needs to be done.
Thank you. Omari Hardy.
Thank you. Here's the thing. I'm the only person standing on this stage who did it Bob Graham style. I did a work day with code enforcement. I actually worked the whole shift with them from 8:30 a.m. I arrived before my code enforcement officer, who I was shadowing, arrived to work. And I worked all the way to 5 p.m. and I saw the way that they worked. And I saw, first of all, that these guys are reacting. They get complaints every single day, and they have to deal with those complaints. They also have to follow up on the previous work that they or their colleagues have done. So there was very little time for them to act proactively within our neighborhoods to target the people who needed targeting. And so what I did was I went out and I read the CDBG manual, and I found out that we could add code enforcement officers with this money that comes from the federal government, and I did it. And my opponent was actually at that public outreach meeting, and she said nothing negative about it. I'm really glad that we did it. Here's the thing. I do think that this is actually a false dichotomy. We should be aware of the either or thing. Code enforcement is both overreaching and they're not doing enough. I think they're overreaching when they go into someone's yard and tag them for minor stuff, and I think they're not doing enough when there are slumlords who don't get the attention that they deserve.
Thank you. All right, 1 minute question, timekeepers. Still in the topic of city government operations. We're going to start with Tom Copeland, come this way, and end with Richard Guercio. The city manager is considered the CEO of our city. What would your report card say of him? Tom Copeland.
I would give the city manager very high regards. You know, we are lucky to have a few things going for us here in the city of Lake Worth. We have open green space, we've got a beach complex, we've got golf courses, and we've got incredible people working for the city. And these are people that also live in the city as well, to the point of Ben Kerr as well, and our city manager does live in our city. So that's incredibly important. We have a great team, and it goes beyond just the city manager. What he's been able to come in and do, let's just talk about the positives. Being able to bring in top-tier talent to run the different department heads. Being able to bring a wealth of knowledge over 30 years in public service. You know, experience matters, okay? And we may disagree on some of his tactics, but I would give the city manager high regard, and we are lucky to have him here in the city. For those who have spent time with him and understand the city and understand the complexities of our city's operations, we would, I think, all say that we're lucky to have him. Thank you.
Thank you. Herman Robinson.
I'm glad Tom expresses the importance of experience. Our city manager works very hard, and he's built a terrific team. He hasn't been reviewed by the commissioners in more than a year and a half, 2 years. That's essential for the commission to understand what they want from their city manager, and it's important to the city manager to understand what we expect of him. He is a professional and built a terrific team. I respect his efforts, and what I am concerned about is his direction of the agenda. And when we are not encouraged to have workshops, I think conversation can only happen between the commissioners on the dais. I think it's really frustrating when workshops don't happen enough.
Thank you, Herman. Kathy Turk.
I think that Michael Bornstein obviously does have a lot of experience. He's got a lot of moving parts. We're dealing with all of the issues of a big city, but we have a little village budget. I think that, you know, I think there's things he could do better? Absolutely. Do I think that he's implementing the policies that's set forth by our commission? Yeah, I think he is. Has he got too much leash? Maybe in some areas he does. But again, I think that's up to our commission, our dais, our electeds to rein him in where he needs to be reined in, and to do the homework, understand where we can improve and where he can improve, and he needs a review. Thank you.
Thank you. Amari Hardy.
There's a rebuttal before my time starts.
All right.
I just want to note that there's a rebuttal.
Thank
you. Are we ready?
Yes, we are. Timekeeper,
Okay.
make sure Mr. Hardy gets his full time.
I think Michael is a phenomenal human being. I think Michael is a phenomenal city manager. I think but for Michael, the city would not be where it is today, and I think Michael deserves the credit for a lot of the successes that we've had today. Now that said, in every single city and every single local government, there is some tension always between the commission or the council, which is the policy making or the legislative body, and the executive, which is supposed to execute the will of the policy-making body. I'm a civics teacher, so I'm going at it right now, right? But here's the thing. I think it's really important that even though Michael drives the bus, that he waits until the commission gives him policy direction before he puts his foot on the pedal. Because if he's not waiting for the elected representatives of the people, then who knows what he's doing? Who knows if he's actually executing the will of the people who live in the city? And that's not to impugn him, but that's something that's very normal that happens in every city. So I just think that the city commission needs to continue to assert itself as the policy-making, legislative, direction-charting body of this city.
Thank you. Richard Guercio.
And there's the rub. The city commission does not have control of the city manager. He needs to be on a short, heavy chain with a choker collar held to the heel of the city commission. He's not the CEO of the city. He declared himself that. He's the COO of the city. He manages the city, he's not the CEO. The city commission is the de facto CEO. You'd be hard-pressed to find someone as talented as Michael to manage a city with all the assets that we have. And he has assembled a fantastic team. I've had the great opportunity to work with these guys really closely, and gals, really closely with what they're doing. And they know what each other has. They know how all the moving parts come together. But the city manager needs to have direction from the city commission. And you can see how it happens. You know, they give him this much sometimes, and he has to perform a task like this. So you can see how he would sometimes go a little free rein. The city commission just does not give him the direction that he needs fully, and I think that that needs to be addressed as well.
Thank you. Candidate Tom Copeland has exercised his R. You have 2 minutes. Well, once your timer is ready.
Okay.
Okay, 2 minutes.
Thank you. What I want to do is I do want to defend my experience, having sit on more than one, both the Sustainability Advisory Board and the Finance Advisory Board and the Sustainability Advisory Board for 2 different cities. I just want to defend that for a second, but that's actually not even really important. What I really want to do with my rebuttal is I just want to say something. So we want to be careful about hubris up here, okay? We have incredible people running our city. These are professionals. And we want to be careful about this exciting hubris, this short chain and this, and then everybody gets excited and starts clapping. Guys, we need people running this city who know what they're doing. That is incredibly important. I'm not going to be running the city. As your city commissioner, I'm going to be fulfilling my duty as your city commissioner, but I have no interest in running the city. My interest is getting the, all right, I'll reset. My interest is in getting our commissioners together. Perhaps we should consider that in the absence of a comprehensive strategic plan for the city that the commissioners have come together and established, maybe the city manager is pushing forward things that are important and need to get done. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. We're going to have one final question. I guarantee it's a zinger. It's going to be a 1-minute question. And then the candidates will have 2 minutes to finalize their thoughts and comments after that and present it to everyone here who's been sitting here being an extremely great audience tonight. So there's one question. There's one question left and then closing statements, or as we call them in the law, closing arguments. So we're going to start with Herman Robinson, run our way down to Richard Guercio, and then end with Amari Hardy on this one. And I'm sorry, we just started with Kathy about 2 ago. Oh, it's end with Kathy, excuse me. I get it now. It's end with Kathy.
We're going to go west.
All right, topic, PBSO, 1-minute question. Is Lake Worth getting its money's worth from PBSO? Are they fulfilling their contract? And what is the next level in our relationship with them? 1 minute, Herman Robinson.
Absolutely. We are better protected. We have reduced crime. We have tremendous backup. Sheriff Bradshaw is a native of Lake Worth. He's going to protect Lake Worth in the professional manner that our sheriffs do. We have good sheriffs on the street. We have tremendous backup, and I think they are doing a good job. And I am glad that we are able to negotiate a contract that doesn't take them to the next level of their the financial possibilities that they could do. So I want to thank them for being in our city.
Thank you. And by the way, I'd like to remind the candidates this is the last opportunity to use the R button, as it is the last question. Thank you very much. Tom Copeland.
Okay, so I think we're absolutely getting our money from PBSO, and what we want to recognize is that our city budget, so we are a $200 million city budget, more than half of that off the top goes straight to safety, and that is a fundamental need that a city has to fulfill at all times. Safety always comes first. So we want to be aware of that. I should say that the technology that we gain with PBSO that we wouldn't otherwise be able to afford or attain as a city police department is incredibly important. The experience that we gain with our officers on the ground are incredibly important as well. So are there ways to build that relationship, bridge that relationship, and create more value for taxpayers? Absolutely, and I would be totally open to that as your commissioner, no question about it. But on the whole, public safety is a city's first job. So making sure that PBSO is delivering value to our citizens is incredibly important. I think that they are doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Curcio.
Yes, we are getting our money's worth out of it, but we are not spending half of $200 million on PBSO. Our core budget is $36 million, and we're spending this year in 19, we'll spend in total $16.5 million on PBSO, which is about 40%. We are not spending half of $200 million. I've had the great opportunity to work closely with PBSO as part of the Lake Worth Advocates Group, and these guys have really come and risen the game, or raised the game, I should say, as far as law enforcement here in the city. I think it's important that we support them. I'm a staunch supporter of law enforcement. I think that we need them here. They've really crushed down on crime. I'm going to say one thing about flooding the streets with cars and with lights. When the tie line went down, Captain Bear told the Parrot Cove Neighborhood Association meeting there was not one crime that night. You know why? They pulled assets from all the other districts of PBSO, flooded the streets, not one crime that entire night. That goes back to what I said about the CRA putting those extra cars on the street out of their budget. That would do exactly that in the CRA district.
Thank you. Amari Hardy.
We are absolutely getting our money's worth with PBSO. As of 2019, we actually have more deputies per 100 persons here in this city than any other area that PBSO serves, and that's a good thing. And by the way, every single contract negotiation, PBSO is able to increase the value of their contract by up to 7%, and they've been very fair with us. They've come back and they've asked for less than half of that a lot of times. So we are definitely getting our money's worth with PBSO, but we're also doing it by using technology. This commission spent $300,000, which is the price of 2 deputies, right? And with those $300,000, here's what we're doing. We're using cameras and we're using license plate readers to catch criminals in the act, right? So we started with 10 HD cameras in what Captain Bear calls the hot spots. We've had over 400 arrests on the basis of those 10 cameras. We're going to get 20 more. We started with 2 mobile license plate readers. We had over 70 arrests, people with stolen vehicles who are coming in the city to commit crime. We're going up to 22. Every entrance and exit to the city is going to be covered. We are using your dollars wisely with PBSO and with the technology that they use, which is important. And that's why the crime rate is down 27% in the first half of 2018. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Turk.
Yes, I absolutely believe that we are getting our money's worth. We do get the equipment, we get the helicopters, we get the jail services, we get special patrols, we get special investigators. We get all of these things from the sheriff's office. Mayor Pam Triolo signed in 5 additional officers in 2016. We have more officers today than we did when they originally signed the contract. I do think that there are things I think that we need to be especially protective of our children on their way to and from schools, and I think that there's some things we could do about having officers actually in place so that children can walk to school safely without walking by drug dealers and prostitutes. I've seen it. It shouldn't happen. We need to have officers there in the mornings and the afternoons to make sure that happens. Also, as a city, we can do it. You know, crime isn't a joke. It's not just Lake Worth. We need to actually take a very firm stand against all types of crime. And again, I think that PBSO is doing a good job. I think we're getting our money. I think we're getting our money's worth. I think they can do a little bit better in their patrolling. Thank you.
All right. Yes, got it. We got, everyone who has Rs is now exercising their Rs, and we're going to go in the order that we went on the same line. So Herman, you're the first R, and then Richard, you're the second R, Amari, you're the third R, and Kathy, you're the last R.
This isn't necessarily a rebuttal. I just want to congratulate the first appearance group that really makes a difference in court and the cooperation of the courts, the Sheriff's Department, and our citizens working together. I have a tendency to be down in South Grade area from 6 in the morning to 8 in the morning. And I'm sorry to say that I'm not the most handsome guy, but I've been approached by some lovely ladies that I wish there was a sheriff in the area at that time. When they see them as I see them, and they can certainly just be there and affect their business. It would be a lot easier to walk with them than to write up reports and go to court. It's that simple. If you affect their business, it's going to go somewhere else. And they will go somewhere else. Just, I want them out of Lake Worth.
Thank you. Richard Curcio.
It is important, and going back to what I said about the night that the tie line went down, Chip, Tammy, Carl, Ray, it proves the theory. That's the proof of concept, that more feet on the street keep the crime out. You know, we've been talking about that for a long time. I think we have to look at the quality of life issues. We're looking to bring investment to the city, and everyone has all these grand ideas, but we have pimps and hookers and johns and drug dealers and the addicts that buy from them just all over the streets on Dixie Highway and down on Federal Highway. We need to get rid of that malaise first, and if we do that, then we can attract more people to the city. It's not just businesses that come in. There are businesses closing on Dixie Highway because they're tired of it. They don't want to see it anymore, and we have the opportunity to get rid of that. So I think we just need to concentrate on what's really important right now. What is blight, right? Blight could be a house, it could be just a structure that's falling down, but this is walking, living, breathing blight, and we have the opportunity to get rid of it, and that can really up the game for the city. And that's how I feel about that.
Tom Copeland, you already used 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Amari Hardy.
Sure. The first thing I'll say, let's talk about quality of life issues. I've had many a conversation with Captain Bear about focusing on quality of life. And here's the interesting thing. Our public defender has actually come to the city and approached our city manager and said, hey, you guys need to do something differently because you guys are leading Palm Beach County as far as municipalities that have arrests for quality of life issues. And as a public defender, she obviously would not like to use her staff time for those what she considers to be minor issues, but here in this city we consider them to be major issues because they affect our lives, they affect the safety of our children, they affect what our children see, and that's really important. And you know, prostitution, to me, it's a demographics problem, right? What we need are more people in this city who are engaging in honorable activities, who are displacing the people who are engaging in the dishonorable activities. And as Captain Bear has said over and over again, prostitution and these low-level offenses are often a long-term redevelopment issue. And so I think that we need to continue what the City Commission has done. We approved Lake Cove, 57 homes. We approved the Mid on Dixie Highway, 230 luxury apartments with young professionals who are going to be there displacing the dishonorable activities that are happening there. In addition to that, I do still think that we're getting our money's worth with PBSO. At the Florida League of Cities, I got to hear from other cities who are arguing with their local police departments and with their other cities about who pays for the officers that are now required at their schools, right? And so I had the pleasure of telling some of these city commissioners and mayors from Broward County that guess what? Each one of our schools has a school resource officer or a deputy there from PBSO, and guess what? We don't pay one dime for that service. We are getting our money's worth. We're getting more than our money's worth. In fact, I'm going to be quiet in case Rick Bradshaw is listening right now.
Thank you. Kathy Turk.
Omari is absolutely right. Prostitution and drugs, those are systemic crimes, and we do need to dilute our, I say dilute, I didn't say get rid of our poverty in order to help with that. We also have to bring in some programs. I actually raised my flag because it was my last opportunity to correct something that I said. I said that it was irresponsible for our commission to not have come up with a budget sooner. I do think we should have had a budget sooner, but the reason we didn't have a budget for our penny sales tax or plans for a penny sales tax sooner is because when the penny sales tax came about, we had planned to use it for the roads, but then we also had the road bonds, but we were kind of betting, well, maybe those road bonds won't go through. So that's why Boynton Beach has 171 plans already put in place, and we didn't have anything. So we got caught off guard on that when the bond project went through. So I want to apologize to our current commission. I don't say it was irresponsible. I think it should have been done sooner. I wish it would have been done sooner, but I'm glad it is happening in February. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to have our closing statements if the candidates are ready to do that. And I was going to start with Richard Gercio and then work all the way back over and finish up with Amari Hardy. Are you ready to start?
I am ready. Tim?
Oh, it's 2 minutes. I apologize, Tom Keepers. 2 minutes for the...
Right. I think you heard a lot going on here tonight. I think you've heard a lot of positions and a lot of going back and forth with things. I still feel always that I am the best person for this job for the reasons stated. Grab a card, a business card of mine or one of my placards. On it is my phone number, not a burner phone. It's my phone number. You can call me anytime and get more in depth with what we're talking about here. I believe that we need to defend our identity. That's number one. We need to change the zip codes that are out there and work with the post office and the city attorney's office to do that. I do believe that we need to strengthen PBSO. They're doing a great job. I think they need more resources. We need to find the way to pay for that. I believe in a proper public-private partnership at the beach. I think it's the only way to do it. Juan was very, very blunt with the model that we have there, and we can't sustain it on our own, even with the extra money. The extra money that we have with increasing parking rates gives us an extra $806,000 in income. We had a $369,000 shortfall, leaving us $437,000 that we can chip away and do other things with, but we need to get the reserve fund up to 3 months because it's at zero right now. We need to strengthen the electric utility, and I don't mean by hardening the utility doesn't mean encasing it in concrete. It means just putting in higher level technology to keep the faults from happening as rapidly as they are and to fix the problems as they have. We do have a great staff here. We have a great promise in Lake Worth, but we have some challenges ahead of us, both financially and logistically. And I firmly believe I'm the one to be sitting in that chair. So grab a card, take my number, give me a call. You see me bumping around town, come up and say hello. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Richard Gercio. Now we hear from Tom Copeland.
All right, so thank you everyone for coming out. I am humbled up here to stand up here and ask for your vote. I want to leave you with a thought here tonight, which is the story of Lake Worth, because we all know the story of Lake Worth. The story of Lake Worth is one of potential versus opportunity. We hear a lot about the potential of Lake Worth. I heard it before I moved in, I heard it once we moved in, and we hear it today as well. But I do see opportunity. And we can do it together. Here's a couple of priorities tonight that may or may not have been covered. Running through them. First, a focus on economic growth, attracting new businesses, attracting new homeowners, attracting new residents, investing in Park of Commerce for industry, and incentivizing sustainable development. Revitalizing our downtown corridors. I had the idea of using penny sales tax money to create focus on walkability and mobility into and out of our downtown corridors. We want to encourage density for live, work, and play because we all love to live, work, and play here in Lake Worth. I'd also like to see some diverse entertainment options in downtown as well. Cleaning up our neighborhoods, working on aggressive code enforcement, building those relationships with PBSO, and one of the most important things that I think I may have run out of time when I said it earlier, but declaring nuisance properties. That is one of the most important things in driving out some of these slumlords and driving out some of the crime and drugs and prostitution is declaring nuisance properties, and PBSO has that power with the help of code. I want to help with that. Reinvesting into our public utilities, a second tie line is crucial in the first term. It's one of the first things I want to work on so we can end these blackouts that occurred last year. Prioritizing projects that improve reliability. And we can do it with low-cost loans and revenue bonds. And lastly, marketing is important, okay? Marketing ties the story to the work that we're doing. We have to do the work. Yes, if we just changed our name to nothing else, it would be a marketing ploy. But it's not a marketing ploy. We can build a strategic marketing plan around it. If you like what you've heard tonight, look, I don't have all the answers, but what I do know is I spend my time out in the neighborhoods door knocking with you guys and meeting you because I don't have all the answers. I don't pretend to. You guys have the answers, okay? So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Tom Copeland for Lake Worth City Commissioner. District 4, I hope to be your next commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom Copeland. Herman Robinson, your floor.
Thanks, John. This has been a wonderful evening, demonstrating the passion we all have for our quirky little town. I'm asking for your vote tonight based on my experience, sincerity, honesty, and having worked with 4 others on the City Commission, each with varying ideas on methods we should use to improve Lake Worth. Communication, compromise, and thoughtful clash of ideas is important to our progress. I am proud and honored to be endorsed by Congresswoman Lois Frankel, State Senator Bobby Powell, State Senator Laurie Berman, Palm Beach County Mayor Mac Bernard, Board Member Erica Whitfield, the Human Rights Council, Palm Beach County Human Rights Council, and City Commissioner Andy Amoroso and Omari Hardy. 4 of my priorities I look forward to addressing are, number 1, using the money from the penny sales tax for our oceanfront park and understanding that it is our park. Raising the score for all schools in Lake Worth, and that's our economic engine. And number 3 is revitalizing our downtown with energy incentives that are creative yet practical. And number 4 is marketing our momentum, authenticity, and possibilities through public-private partnerships. I look forward to the challenge with a reasoned, mature, cooperative approach to take us into the future. For our young residents to grow, to love, and take pride in all the fantastic assets in Lake Worth. I'm asking you to vote for me, Commissioner Herman Robinson, to continue our progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Herman Robinson. Kathy Turk, it's your floor.
Again, I want to thank the NAPC and the Playhouse and all of you for being here. People ask me what I think is the biggest issue within Lake Worth, and my answer is that we seem to lack a community vision. I saw this on the Planning and Zoning Board when we reviewed comprehensive plans, zoning changes, development regulations, and even murals without a benefit of a long-term plan. Right now, our city is being defined by employees who don't live here, property owners and developers who want cheap access to 95 and West Palm Beach. There are formal processes that communities can take to engage residents and stakeholders, where the end product is a strategic plan that tells staff members, developers, and future residents exactly where we're headed. When elected, I will amplify your voice on the dais. I will work to unite our community and bring transparency to our city government. I will have people outside with flyers. I hope that you will take one. I hope you'll join our team. I need your support. I need your vote. Kathy Turk, March 12th, 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy Turk. Omari Hardy, you get the last word.
Well, the first thing I want to say is I want to say thank you to everyone here and everyone in the city for allowing me to have the time of my life by representing you. It is a privilege to stand on this stage. It has been a privilege to sit on that dais. I love this city and I love what I do, and I would love the opportunity to do it for another 3 years. Look, there were lots of things said here about what we need to do, but to me they sound like things we're already doing. It was said that we need to support PBSO with resources. That's exactly what we've done, and that's why we have more deputies here than any other area per person. It's been said that we need to support them with more resources. That's why we got them the cameras and the license plate readers that they need to catch the criminals in the act. It's been said that we need to fix the electric utility. That's what we did with rate parity for the first time. We're at parity with FP&L on our rates, and that's what we're doing on the reliability front. We're spending $15 million this year to make the electric grid more reliable, and we intend to spend more money as debt rolls off of the electric utility to continue to make the grid more reliable. I heard about focusing on economic development. We've approved more projects in a year and 9-month period than I can ever remember here in this city. We approved Lake Cove, 57 single-family homes. That's economic development. We approved the Mid. We approved the One, which is a luxury condominium building. Again, you can throw a stone at it from this building. We approved a bed and breakfast right on O Street. We're in the process with the CRA of having a public-private partnership so that we can bring residential units as well as parking into the downtown. We also did it by fixing historic preservation. Herman Robinson and I focused very much on this. People couldn't get doors, windows, roofs, fences done. That's economic development, but they couldn't get it done, and we fixed that ordinance. The nuisance property ordinance, we used it for the first time, the chronic nuisance abatement process, this commission did. And we did it with the Holiday House Motel for the first time, and we're going to continue to use it on the worst landlords in the city. Look, I believe that if it's not broken, you don't fix it. And this city is not broken, okay? This commission is not fractured. We've continued to do initiative after initiative that's improved the quality of the city. We're going in the right direction. For the first time in a long time, we have momentum, and we should keep that. We should preserve this commission. My name is Commissioner Omari Hardy, and I am asking for your vote on March 12th. Thank you.
Thank you, lady and gentlemen, for making my job really easy tonight. And
Keep your applause going for John Paxman right here. Keep it going for these guys in the front row, the timekeepers. Hardest working business. And then of course these guys On the dais or not, these guys are some of the hardest working people in the city, for sure. Thank you all for coming out tonight. All right, housekeeping. There's about 37, 38 more questions we didn't ask tonight. I know South Palm Park, second Monday of the month at the golf course, they have a forum. And Parrot Cove might be doing something? Yes, they are.
The week after.
Third Monday, Parrot Cove, February, golf course. And I'm sure a couple other neighborhoods might do it too, so check in to see all the questions that weren't asked and answered tonight. Neighborhood Presidents Council. Presidents, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I was thinking to start a riot tonight and say I have some cottage tour tickets to scalp for Sunday, but I figured we'd behave tonight and we wouldn't have some bloody hallways or aisles. The Playhouse, $573. Thank you so much. It's not enough, but it's definitely a tremendous thank you for them. Couldn't be more happy with our Playhouse. When you leave here, you need to leave. Leave here in about 1 minute. Go visit our local restaurants. Have a coffee, a cappuccino, a nightcap. We have, like, any direction, you're going to find some great restaurants. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, neighbors. Get out and vote in March. Thank you. Good night.
NAPC.